So tonight is the first night of Chanukah. So perfect timing. So we'll talk a little bit about this very, very special holiday. Even though we've done so over the years, there are quite a few interesting ideas that need to be emphasized. That as we go through the holiday, many of us perhaps do not focus enough on what this holiday represents, what we can learn from it. Instead of just lighting the Chanukah, instead of just having fun eating the latkes and the sufganiyot, there's really so much to gain from learning a little bit about the history, the background of what exactly happened during that period of time in our history. Plus, what exactly does Hashem want from us? What does God want? Why did He bring us to this situation? Why is this holiday celebrated? So we've covered quite a few points, some very important lessons, but this time I want to talk about Chanukah, the ongoing battle. I call it the ongoing battle is because many perhaps can easily make the mistake in thinking, oh, Baruch Hashem, Chanukah is a time that we rested. That's what the words mean, at least the remez in the word, the hint in the word of Chanukah. One of the hints is that they rested on this day, the 25th of Kislev, Baruch Hashem, from the Greeks, from the terrible decrees that the Greeks instituted back then to try to cool us off from our attachment to the Torah, as they tried to indoctrinate us with their philosophy. And as a result of all their decrees, many Jews, unfortunately, were weakened in their faith, were distanced from their tradition, and little by little became assimilated. And part of assimilation is to lose hope, to lose interest, and to just go along with the trend, to go along with the one who is in power. Especially if there's a danger, a physical danger, to go against them, to go against the one who is in power. So a lot of people just give up, don't want to fight, and that created a big problem. Of course, it's more of a spiritual problem than an immediate physical problem to the Jewish people. But the mistake is that even though it's true that a great miracle occurred, and more than one miracle, that the Maccabim, the few, were able to defeat the many, and as a result of their victories in the battlefield, they were able to restore the service back to the Bet HaMikdash, the temple, and to bring back pride to the Jewish nation. And it appears like everything just got back to normal, but it's not so. The right way to look at it is Hanukkah is a bit of a respite, if you know what that word means. A little bit of rest from the terrible decrees. The Greeks continue to be the rulers of the land. They were not kicked out. But the real issues that confronted the Jewish people back then still confronts us today. The dangers of the past are still around. And that's why I'm calling this lecture, Chanukah, the ongoing battle. The battle is not over. We have to understand what the battle is. It's not the battle of the Maccabim against the Yevanim, against the Greeks. That battle perhaps is long over. But the real battle is still going on. And what's the real battle? The real battle is the battle that every one of us, every human being, has on a daily basis with the Yetzer Hara, with the evil inclination. That is a constant battle until one leaves this world. You can't avoid it. So therefore, since that is the real battle that we need to contend with, the real heroism, the real gvura, involves an individual being able to control his Yetzer. That's where he shows real gvura, real heroism, real strength, real prowess. When he's able to win, when he's able to defeat the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. Not when he's able to defeat an enemy with tanks, with missiles, with planes. That is, of course, a victory of sorts as well, but that's not as important. That is not what we considered a real victory. As then, I believe, a Midrash brings us a story of one who was watching how all the soldiers were coming back from war, how they were celebrating and so happy that they won the war. And he goes over to them. Imagine this guy who didn't fight the war, who wasn't involved in the war. He says, "You guys are so happy that you won the war. What you just won is a small war. A small war. You have no idea how difficult this war was." What do you mean small? This is a small war compared to the big war that is awaiting you. We have a big war awaiting us? Yes. That's the war that you have on a regular basis with your Yetzer Hara, with your evil inclination. That's a much more difficult war. That's much more difficult to win. Because the evil inclination is there all the time, and even if you defeat it once, it comes back. It never gives up. And that's something that we need to learn from, by the way. The Yetzer Hara doesn't give up. Why should we give up? Right? He's there all time. 24 hours a day. He doesn't get any rest. He doesn't need a rest. That's a much more difficult war. To understand a little bit how difficult is the battle with the Yetzer Hara, we have a little bit of a glimpse from the challenges that Avraham Avinu had. We know that Avraham Avinu was tested. He had many nisyonot. Challenges, tested. His faith in God was being tested. Now we know that God does not need to test his faith because Hashem knows our thoughts. Hashem knows that Avraham Avinu would pass the test with flying colors. The test is ultimately for his good, for Avraham Avinu's benefit, and for us to learn from. That's all. When one passes a test, he's able to elevate himself to higher levels that he would not have reached, he would not have attained, had he not had that opportunity, that challenge in that test. When Hashem therefore puts us in difficult situations and we are being tested, not that he needs to test us, it is ultimately to strengthen us, besides the reward that one will get for passing the test. Reward is another idea. The immediate effect that the test has on the individual is that he grows. That's called spiritual growth. This is how we acquire spiritual growth. Other than just observing mitzvot, of course, and learning Torah, which of course educates us and builds us and guides us. Besides all that, challenges are perhaps the most powerful tool in building the individual, in elevating him to a height that he would never have reached without the challenge. So Avraham Avinu goes through many difficult challenges. And one of them you're all familiar with. Pretty much, one could say it's the last difficult challenge that he had, was with the Maaseh Akedah. He's instructed to bring Yitzhak, his son, on the Akedah. In other words, to sacrifice him. Now, there are many, many difficulties with this. Not only was Avraham Avinu against human sacrifices, which he taught to his own generation. Here he's going against all his teachings. Not only is this his son, which there is an emotional bond, he was told also, he was promised by God that you will have children from Yitzchak. In other words, there will be a future nation coming out of him. So what's going to be with all these promises? So there's a lot of doubts that you can imagine, perhaps, that Avraham Avinu has to sort out. And I say that he has to sort out because he quickly put them aside. That was the greatness of Avraham Avinu, is that he, of course, realized that this is a big challenge. He realized how difficult this is. He's realizing that from Shamayim, somehow he's being given some very difficult instructions, but he's a human being. He's a human being like everyone else. He's a human being. I mean, that he would have to sort through the doubts and deal with them. He says, can I really do this? I mean, but Hashem told you so. But Hashem telling us apparently is not enough. Look at Adam and Chava, the first human beings. From the very beginning of creation, they were told by God personally, don't eat from that tree. Don't eat from the forbidden fruit. Only one mitzvah, not 613. And they couldn't deal with it. So instructions from God directly is not enough. That whole incident of Chet Adam Rishon, by the way, is an important incident because it is a lesson for humanity. It has nothing to do with the Jewish people. It's a lesson for humanity. Listen, God has given instructions to the world, whether it's the 630 mitzvot for the Jewish people, whether it's the 7 Noahide laws. Okay? You're going to have to deal with this Yetzer Hara, that is going to compete with my instructions. He's going to try to give you his own instructions. And his instructions will always be against my instructions. And don't think it's easy. Here, you have an example. Adam and Chava, they failed with one instruction. On the first day, from Hashem directly. So, difficult. So where's the difficulty that Avraham Avinu has? He has to sort out all these doubts that he has, all these issues. But wait a minute. There have been countless individuals throughout our history who were prepared and gave their life al Kiddush Hashem to sanctify God's name. Why is Avraham Avinu so unique? Okay, so we said that this went against his teaching. All right, so. No, but Maaseh Akedah is a tremendous lesson. It is supposed to be one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult, test of all. But everyone has had difficult challenges in his life, and many have had very difficult challenges of having to give up their life. So why is Abraham's Avinu example so unique? Why does it stand out? Why is this so special? So the commentaries explain Abraham Avinu is different because Abraham Avinu remained alive. He would remain alive after sacrificing his son, and for the rest of his life he would have to bear the pain of having lost his only son, his main son, Yitzhak. Those who were prepared to give their life or gave their life, it was a couple seconds and it was over. There's no more pain. They're dead, they're gone. For one to give his life is a very, very heroic feat, I guess you can call it that. It is definitely something significant, but it's a one-time thing. You did it, and it's over with. The Maaseh Akedah, Abraham Avinu would have to live with that pain for the rest of his life. That is what's so difficult about it. I'm using that as an example to demonstrate how difficult the Yetzer Hara can be. Because this is not just the Yetzer of the moment of making the decision, he's already thinking about the future. And let's say he succeeded. Maybe the next day he will have second thoughts about it. He will be troubled, did I do the right thing or not? So the Yetzer will come back, an ongoing struggle with the evil inclination, with what appears to be clear instructions from Hashem. Nonetheless, the Yetzer is powerful. So let's not forget, and let's not for a moment make the mistake that Avraham Avinu had it easy just because he was spiritually on a very high level. Yes, he was spiritually on a high level, he had clarity, the instructions were pretty much direct, right? He shouldn't have any doubts. Nonetheless, don't think it was easy. Otherwise the Torah wouldn't record this. If something was automatic for him, if he was an angel, not a human being, then why tell us this? The lesson is for us. The lesson is for future generations to realize that this is what may be expected of us at a certain time. And obviously through that incident, it was implanted in us the strength and the courage to be able to do difficult things. What are very, very difficult things. To give your life, to give your son's life, your child's life. Yeah, and that has been, unfortunately, the case in many incidents throughout our history, where Jews were challenged, their faith was challenged. But Baruch Hashem, many, of course, succeeded in not giving up. That strength, the rabbis tell us, was derived from the first one, from the pioneer, from the one that set the example, Avraham Avinu. So this difficult challenge is difficult because it's also on a regular basis. It's constantly there. It doesn't go away. And we see throughout our history that there were many individuals who, even though they were tempted in all kinds of ways, monies, riches, fame, whatever it is. And that challenge is a little bit different than having to give your life, okay? Still, they didn't fall for it. Some did. In other words, regardless of how you tempted the individual, whether it was with an immediate threat to himself or to his children, or whether it was all kinds of other pituyim, other kinds of temptations, we see many examples of, Baruch Hashem, individuals who resisted. How? How were they able to resist? Now, if they are able to resist, that means every one of us can resist. But where does the strength to resist lie? I mean, what does it take? And we just said that this is a very difficult battle. So let's go on with Rachel as another example. You know what Rachel gave up when she cooperated with Leah and let Leah marry Yaakov and not herself? She was aware of the trick. She knew her father Lavan was up to something. And according to our tradition, there was a code, a password, whatever you want to call it, between Yaakov and Rachel to make sure that it's the right person under the chuppah. And she revealed that code to Leah, so Leah should not be embarrassed. Do you know what this means? Forfeiting your entire future with the man you love, with the man you're looking forward to get married to? I mean, how does anybody do that? It's almost impossible. Why should she do it? She has no obligation even to do that. So what's going on in her mind? Now, we know that as a result of what she did, she gets tremendous amount of credit. And that credit was not given to her then. Then she had a very short life. She brought 2 boys into the world, Yosef and Binyamin. She fulfilled her mission. Her real mission only comes about right before Mashiach comes. Not only is there a Mashiach coming out from Yosef, but Hashem turns to Rachel, who is crying for Am Yisrael, in the words of the prophet, Mini kolech mi bechi. Don't cry. The time will come. V'shavu banim levulam. Your children will return. Your children will return to the land of Israel, especially the children of Rachel. Who are the children of Rachel? Yosef and Binyamin. Yosef has Menashe and Ephraim. That means the 10 lost tribes will come back. In your merit, they will all come back. There are many, many difficulties in bringing them all back to Israel. Everybody's so scattered. Many of them have forgotten that they're even Jews. What will happen? Hashem says, leave it to me. I'll bring it about, and I'll bring it about in your merit. So apparently Rachel is a very righteous woman. But still, we have to go back to the question, how does she do it? It takes tremendous amount of insight. It takes tremendous amount of guts as well. But what's the insight here? What's moving her? What is her motive? Why is it just self-sacrifice? No, it's not just self-sacrifice. Rachel is clearly telling us, I'm mostly concerned about Am Yisrael. I'm concerned about the Jewish nation. I'm concerned about the children who are supposed to come out of Yaakov. I want him to, he's already an old man. I want him to start his life. I want him to build the nation. It has to start now. It better start now. I'm not going to hold it back. Even if it means giving up my husband. Even if it means that my sister, there's unfortunately sometimes jealousy between 2 sisters. Competition. This is one of the greatest sacrifices of all. Very difficult sacrifice, very difficult challenge. But she gives it up because she's concerned mostly and most importantly about the future of the Jewish nation. Yaakov is the Jewish people. Yaakov's children will form the Jewish nation. It has to begin. We can't wait. This is what we need to focus on. That is how she's able to do it. Focus, selflessness, not being distracted by anything else, but very, very difficult nonetheless. Yehuda made a big mistake. Not only did he sell Yosef, convince his brother, let's sell Yosef, but he lied to his father with the ketonet pasim. Is this your son's shirt? You know, that they put in the blood of a goat? What are you lying to him? It was a lie. I mean, what else are they going to say? They couldn't get themselves to admit it, right? So they had to lie. Yehuda unfortunately goes through his own losses. His two out of the three boys die prematurely, very early young age. He's widowed. But besides that, he goes through a very embarrassing time with the incident of Tamar. As you know, he was involved with his daughter-in-law, not knowing that she was his daughter-in-law. She bore 2 children to him. He did not know, of course, that happened until he was told, your daughter-in-law is pregnant. Well, how? You know, where's the husband? And she did not want to embarrass him. And she says, well, to the man that these items that she took as collateral belong to, I'm pregnant. He recognized it and he admitted it. Yes, she was right for doing what she did, and it was for me. That confession, admitting it, even though if it meant embarrassing himself in public, was in a sort of way a tikkun, an atonement for his first lie, for the first time that he lied, for the first time that he did not do the right thing. So we see from that incident, even though it's coming to repair an earlier incident, it still requires heroics. It still requires strength of conviction that this is the right thing to do and not allow her to die. Right? But she herself, Tamar, was prepared to embarrass herself. She was prepared to die and not embarrass Yehuda. That's also Gvura. Look at all these examples of heroism on the part of Rachel, on the part of Tamar, on the part of Yehuda. Proper focus on what's really important in life and what's secondary and what's not significant. Now I'm going to share with you an incredible story that happened in the 20th century. This is one of my favorite stories because it really, really shows you in vivid colors how the Yetzer Hara operates, how difficult it is, and how nonetheless you could defeat him. There was a soccer player in Israel, Jewish soccer player, who one day said, I'm very, very much bothered that because of those soccer matches on Shabbat, I'm causing many, many Jews to desecrate the Shabbat. It doesn't sit well with me. And this is a non-religious soccer player saying that. He says, something just doesn't sit well with me. It began to bother him so much that he said, you know what, that's it, I'm giving it up. I'm giving up. Now this is a good soccer player. This is a good salary. Fame. This is not, I'm bothered by this. He went to the owner of the team and says, as soon as possible, I want to get out of it. As soon as possible meant 2 months. He had to play for an additional 2 months. After that, he wants to quit, he can quit. What do you think happened during these 2 months? Well, the first thing he did was he went over to his wife. Baruch Hashem, he says that his wife didn't put up a fight, and she says, whatever you decide, I'll go along with. So Baruch Hashem, that hurdle, he was able to pass. That's not an easy hurdle. But now comes the biggest hurdle of all. During those 2 months, he says he was making goals one after another. Long shots like he never did before. Everything worked so well, he says, the Yetzer Hara was playing, it wasn't me. He says his friends were amazed and they asked him, where do you do your training? What's the secret? We know you're doing something. And of course, he realized that this was the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara was all of a sudden making all his games exceedingly well. It was so well that the owner of the team says, you know what? Whatever this guy wants, you give him. and they realized that he's about to quit, they offered him increase to his salary, a free house. This is at a time when he was desperately in need of funds to buy a house. Travel to Chutz La'aretz, in other words, to go to Europe and so forth. All kinds of benefits on top of that. He was resisting. But they figured, with time they'll convince him. The time was almost over. They went to his parents. They went to his wife. They said, we got to discourage him. He says, the team will lose if he doesn't play. Everything, our future depends on him. They tried everything they can. The moment came for him to sign, and it took a lot of his courage, but he nonetheless signed. He was happy with himself, but now starts another challenge. He's out of a job. He went to the Misrad Hasad, like the unemployment agency. I told him, please find me a job, because I gave up my old job for religious reasons, and they thought he was crazy. They knew who he was, they knew what he was giving up, and they said, I'm sorry, but the only position we have for you is gardener. To plant flowers, and to do a little bit of the maintenance of the garden. Where? At the stadium that you used to play. So can you imagine the shame that he had to go every day to that stadium where his friends were playing and he was planting flowers? And he says, on top of that, what I made as a gardener, a salary for 1 month, I made that in 1.5 hours playing soccer. 1.5 hours of playing soccer was the equivalent of what he was now making an entire month. He says, Baruch Hashem, I do not regret it. I feel very happy and proud of my decision. As a result of his courage and his tenacity to resist all the pressures, he was able to encourage just about every family member, brother-in-laws, parents, brothers and sisters, to keep Shabbat. He didn't have to convince. He was courage. They saw his tenacity and courage. That is what said, to the brothers and sisters, he can do it, we can do it, It convinced them. An incredible story of the Yetzer Hara, how he tries so hard to get you. This guy's going to give up such a salary, such fame. The Yetzer Hara is not going to let go of him so easily. Can you imagine all of a sudden goals, one after another, beautiful shots? Nobody could understand what was going on. How did this player become such a good player? Even he knew that this is not him. This is not him. Who? The Yetzer Hara was playing for him, making all the good shots. Look how the man is being tested. During those 2 months that he had left, that was so difficult. He was doing so well, and they promised him so much. Nonetheless, Baruch Hashem, he refused. So, what we have here is constant battle. Many people, when they think about battles, they say, war is difficult, war is bad. And why should we have to fight the Yetzer Hara so much? Wouldn't it be nice that we would do things normal, naturally? Now, we know we have free will. We know Hashem wants us to earn our reward by being able to conquer our evil inclination. That we know already by now. But why make it so difficult? Sometimes it's really, really difficult. For people who are becoming Baalei Teshuvah, it's not easy. But war, as unpleasant as it is, even a physical war has benefits. What is the benefit of a physical war? Why do wars have to take place at all? And again, we're not talking about from the angle of people's selfishness and the pursuit of honor and all that people wage war. I'm talking about on the spiritual level. Why does God allow for it to happen? There's a lot of benefits from a war. When a war is fought, the good has a chance to defeat the evil. And when good defeats evil, it's good for the world. It's good for the world for there to be an incident or more where good can defeat the evil for once. Evil is rampant. Evil is around until Mashiach comes. That is when it will cease to exist. In the meantime, every opportunity one has to defeat evil It's great, not only for himself, it's great for the world. So what happens when the evil is defeated by an individual as opposed to a whole army, his neshama begins to light. Yeah. It sounds a little bit strange. The neshama begins to light. Yeah. On a spiritual level, there is something called light. There's a spiritual light. And when according to the Kabbalah, when an individual's neshama is lit, he feels like a completely different person. It gives him clarity. It guides him. There's never any bout of depression whatsoever. His neshama is in control. His neshama is lit. He's happy. He's content with himself. He's a whole different person. Therefore, I think this is an incredibly important lesson for everyone to learn. Every challenge that we have, that we, Baruch Hashem, God willing, we will deal with successfully, every battle that we will win, a spiritual battle, will contribute immensely to our spiritual well-being. The battle won is already a tremendous benefit to us. It's not only, we got this out of the way. No. We don't realize that besides getting something out of the way, there will be other things coming anyway. In the meantime, I have grown. In the meantime, this has contributed so much to my growth, to my spiritual growth. The neshama is now lit as a result of good defeating the evil. What comes out of this as a result of good defeating the evil is that we acquire a very powerful tool. The tool is called ratzon. The ratzon is the will, the willpower. Willpower that is being driven by emunah. Because why are we doing this? Why are we trying to win? Because we have faith. Otherwise, why fight the Yetzer Hara? Give in. Eat as much as you want, sleep as much as you want, enjoy the pleasures of life. Like many people claim, you only live once, right? So why am I interested here in defeating the evil, in defeating the Yetzer Hara? Because of the strength of my faith. That the faith is the one that motivates me, drives me, and tells me, I got to do this. So as a result of winning a war, we become familiar with this tool, more and more familiar with this tool. Wow, this is a powerful tool called Koach HaRatzon. I can win wars with it. I just did. And this Ratzon is the greatest and most powerful tool in psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is sometimes necessary to help people in depression. Do you know how many people are depressed these days? Millions. Millions of people depressed. Different levels of depression. Different levels of depression. Some less, some more. Rich people, they are the most depressed. How do you get it out of them? Therapy. The greatest therapy is your own therapy. If you can. Most people can't, or most people haven't tried, I should say. And that is the power of the Ratzon, which comes about through the power of Emunah. When a person is driven through Emunah, that Ratzon is extremely powerful, that it is able to act as a therapy more than anything else in the world to help him deal with his depression and to deal with other problems, with other anxieties, with worries, and other issues in life as well. Emunah, the faith in God. We have a tool, and a lot of other people can, of course, use that tool as well, not just the Jews, to get themselves out of a lot of trouble, a lot of misery. Many times that misery is self-inflicted. So that's the Ratzon B'Koach HaEmunah, the willpower being driven through the power of faith, that is able to help us so much in being able to get us out of depression, and of course in being able to constantly do battle with the Yetzer Hara and win as well. When a person uses his willpower properly, he's not only able to get himself out of mashberim, I guess in English, mashber would be a fall, a spiritual fall. Not only is he able to release himself or to get himself out from all kinds of downfalls, he's also able to discover a lot about himself that he did not know. During that time when the willpower is strong and he's able to see constant defeat of the Yetzer Hara, constant victories, and complete control over the situation, he will, besides those victories of getting himself out of potential trouble, he will discover much about himself that he did not know. All the potential that he has, that is dormant, that he was unaware of. Koach haratzon. And that, of course, coming about through emunah. So now we have a little bit of a better understanding, I trust, of what happened, what really happened in Chanukah. The Maccabim succeeded in doing what? Not just defeating the enemy. You know what their real success was? In instilling in the Jewish people who were depressed, asleep, not active, not productive. They succeeded in instilling and implanting in their mind and their hearts a spirit of hope. You see? It's still possible. What are you giving up? Why did you just give up so quickly, so easily? That's a tremendous success. The success at the battlefield, let's forget about that. So some people are dead, new people are born. It's never ending. There's always a cycle of death and birth. Your old enemy is gone, there's always a new enemy. Do you know what they succeeded? They succeeded in bringing encouragement to so many individuals who were depressed, who have given up. I think that is the greatest success of all. Because, let's not forget, the Greeks did succeed through their strategy to bring about tremendous darkness. Through their philosophy, they brought darkness because the Torah brings light. So anything that's contrary to the Torah brings darkness. And what does that darkness do? It extinguishes the light in many people, the light of hope, the light of faith and reliance in God. And as a result of that, it extinguished in them the pride of being Jewish. Says, well, why be Jewish? This sounds more interesting, much more beautiful. The Greek philosophy, interesting. Yeah, let's go to the gym. That's what the Greeks did. Let's build up our physical body too. Why the physical body? I mean, important and healthy to build up your physical body too. But what about don't forget your soul. Got to build up a soul. What soul? Yeah, you have a neshama. Did you forget about that? You know, people are too busy with their bodies. Got to go on a diet. You know, thousands of books on how to go on a diet. Physical diet. But what about the diet for the soul? To get the soul detached from all its cravings. That is where the real problem is. It's not the physical body that of course wants it, because the physical body needs it. But the captain of the ship, the soul, can say, wait a minute, you don't need so much of it. So no philosophy in the world and no psychologist can ever deal with the most inner problem of the individual. And that is the problems of the soul, that the soul is having. The psychology and therapy do not go so far. They only touch on the surface. Let me make you feel a little bit better. Okay? And they can succeed in that through logic, through common sense, through their own experience with human beings. They can somewhat tackle the problem a little bit, but they will not cure the problem. To cure the problem, you have to go to the neshama, to the soul. And that psychology does not do. It simply does not do. Does not do it. In order for, of course, for the Maccabim to succeed, however, in this battle, what was required was hakrava, sacrifice. You have to be willing to die for this, if you believe in it. Sacrifice. This is not just, you sit in, some of these guys who run those drones, they sit in an office in New Mexico or in Texas or in Nevada, and the drone flies by itself to shoot missiles in Afghanistan and Pakistan. They're not in danger. That's easy, relatively. Joystick, push buttons. Let's say you fight face to face. To succeed, you need to be willing to sacrifice. You need to be willing to work hard. And that is really one of the only reasons why Hashem made the Jewish people fight to conquer the land of Israel when they went to Hashem. Did you promise us a land that flows honey and milk? Why do we need 7 years to conquer it? Why do we need to fight them? Let them all leave on their own. Fight, war, losses, fatalities. Hard. Hashem says, yes. See, when you fight for something, you will appreciate it more too. That's another reason why I want you to fight and not give it to you, not hand it to you on a silver platter. Fight for it. Work hard for it. You will also appreciate it. You see the benefit of war? There's a lot of benefits. It's not pleasant, but we will appreciate, hopefully, what we're fighting for. We won't let go of it, hopefully, as easily. Plus, it will bring out something in us. And it will do something for others who have been sleeping and who have lost hope. So one of the greatest dangers, perhaps an important lesson, an additional lesson in Chanukah is lo lashevet b'sha'ananut, as we say in Hebrew, is not to take things with equanimity and tranquility and calmness and, okay, ze yeh beseder, as some people would like to say, it's going to be okay. You know, in every language, I don't know about other languages, but in various languages, there's a way of saying it. It's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. You know, in Spanish we say todo se va a arreglar. Everything is going to take care of itself. And in Portuguese we say tudo vai dar certo. Everything will just fall into place correctly. There's, you know, maybe in Farsi too, things will take care of themselves. No. It's a very, very nice saying to use after you've tried everything you can. Don't just sit around and say that. You know, Allah Kareem, you know, as we say in Arabic. You know, yeah, I agree with you, Allah Kareem. Yeah, but what about your efforts? What about your harikat? Right? Yeah, you got to do something. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to sit at home and do nothing. God will help. Everything will be fine. No, it doesn't work like that. So it's very, very dangerous to sit back and do nothing. Not only do we see the importance of the akrava, yes, it's important to fight and to sacrifice and to willing to fight hard, but it's just as bad. In other words, the other end of it, that was the exact opposite, not to do anything. That's very bad. That's just the exact opposite. That's dangerous. You can express yourself that way after you've tried everything. All right. So Baruch Hashem, the Maccabim won. They succeeded. They did the right thing. Hashem helped. What got them going? What got them going? Yes, they were religious. Yes, they had some sort of clarity, but they didn't wake up in the beginning. People think that from the very, very beginning, they said, no, we're not going to tolerate this. We're going to go out. No, there's decrees. There's problems going on for a while with the Greeks. I wish they would have gotten up one day in the morning and said, no, we're not going to take this. Mapito. Now, obviously, it took time for it to sink in. You know, you don't always see the problem right away. Oh, these guys are nice guys. Okay, so we'll learn how to speak Greek. Greek music is beautiful. And we'll have baklava together, right? And feta cheese. There's nothing wrong with that. Dolmes, you know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good! Nah. So, yeah, it takes a while until these problems sink in. But what got them going? You know what got them going? Most people forget about this one. The women. We were talking about heroism before. We were talking about strength. The women get a lot of credit. Chanukah is such a special holiday, not because of just because of the spirit and everything, is because Everybody was involved in the miracle, including the women. But it's not just their inclusion or their involvement. What people forget is that they actually triggered the victories. They made it happen. What did they do? There are many stories. I'll just tell you one of how a woman went to circumcise her child. And it was against the Greeks to circumcise. They wanted to abolish many things, including circumcision. She went and openly, in front of all the Greeks, had her child circumcised, and then let the child fall over the wall. Her infant died, and then she threw herself over the wall and died. And right before, she said, to all the Jews who were watching her do this, because this was in complete defiance of the Greeks. So they all came to see, what's going to happen. Plus, she gave them a speech before she died. She said, if you guys don't get up and do something about the situation and fight your way through this and try to get all these decrees abolished, you'll have no more children in the future. You'll disappear. And then she threw herself. So that made its mark. Her words and her deed made its mark, because she says, you gotta circumcise it not secretly. You gotta circumcise the child publicly and show your defiance and fight for what you believe in. Because of course many of them were trying to do it quietly. Yeah, of course. Not everybody gave it up. No! The way to fight is to go against the decree, to publicly proclaim your faith and to fight for what you believe in. So she set the example. It was her heroism, by making this whole Brit Milah, the circumcision, a public act, and by telling them off that you better do something, that got them going. So what we see so far from all of this is that people have to have constant awareness. Constant awareness of what the Torah says, or what Hashem told Cain. La petach chatat rovetz. Just remember, the Yetzer Hara is always there at the front door, waiting to do battle with you. Don't think that just because you won one day, it's all over with. He will come back. Just because you won yesterday does not mean you're going to win today. Just doesn't mean that you're going to win tomorrow. There's many disguises to the Yetzer Hara. So a certain amount of awareness is required. Of what? Awareness of la petach chatat rovetz. That the Yetzer Hara is always there to try to attack from different angles. One of the great leaders of the past generation, Rabbi Yerucham of Mir, used to say that awareness is so important. Oy, he says, woe to a person who has no awareness of the likuyei nafsho, of the weaknesses that he has. Because woe to him that he doesn't even know what he has to repair. Woe to him, even worse, who does not even have awareness of the tools to get himself out of it. In other words, the tools in this case meaning that he has the strength, that he has the ability, that he has many virtues with which he can be helped to be able to repair those weaknesses. So woe to him who's not even aware of the tools of the trade. The tool, he has the tools for this job. Woe to him who's not aware of his problems, of his weaknesses. He doesn't know what to fix. But worse, woe to that individual who is not even aware that he has the tools to do battle and to get himself out of these problems, to be able to repair those weaknesses, to heal himself. It's all about awareness, about being aware of who we are and what is at our disposal. The Maccabim, Baruch Hashem, won. They were very devoted. They were good people. And the reason why I say that with confidence is because we have a tradition that Hashem does not help those who do things for their own honor. In other words, it becomes obvious that as a result of the many miracles, not only that they did the right thing, that we already know by now that they did the right thing, but that they did it l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, not for their own honor. Because a lot of people can do the right thing, but what's motivating them? What's driving them? What's getting them to do it? They want to be the leaders. They want the money. They want the honor. Who knows what they want? No. If Hashem made miracles here, incredible miracles, it's because what they did was l'shem shamayim. That is why our rabbis tell us that Chanukah and Purim of all holidays will never be canceled. When Mashiach comes, all the holidays possibly will no longer be as applicable or as relevant as they were in the past. Chanukah and Purim will always be around. Why? What's so special about them? Because these two are holidays that we acquired as a result of our own deeds. Whereas the holidays that Hashem gave us, Hashem gave it to us. He says, I want you to keep Sukkot, I want you to keep Shavuot, I want you to keep Pesach, because of this, and because of that. He gave it to us. These two holidays, Chanukah and Purim, we earned them. We made them into a holiday through our ma'asim, through our devotion, through our self-sacrifice. So because of our deeds, they will never be canceled. So we see the strength of L'Shem Shamayim, the strength of one's deeds, that it has a long-term effect. Hashem performed the miracle, especially when he saw that not only were they doing it L'Shem Shamayim, they were doing it with happiness and with joy. They wanted to be able to observe the mitzvot. It's not that they had no choice. Okay, we better do war because otherwise we're going to be ruled by the Greeks. No, they did it for the real thing and they did it with joy. Hashem does not just make miracles just like that. In other words, there was a purity in what they were doing. So the big question therefore now is, how do we get to that level of purity so that we should be able to do things with purity, L'Shem Shamayim, with tremendous joy? It is quite clear from various sources in the Midrash and the Torah that if an individual devotes himself properly on a regular basis to do a mitzvah without ever giving up on it, doing it constantly no matter what the challenges are, does it because he believes in it, he does it because Hashem told him so, he doesn't doubt it, what will happen is that this ratzon, which is pure to begin with, will transform every deed that is being done in the future to a deed that is done with tremendous happiness. But it's not just happiness where people are dancing around. The happiness in the performance of the mitzvah is the actual feeling that this is so important to me, that this is so much of a priority to me, that I would never exchange this for any money in the world. That's the kind of happiness I'm talking about. You don't need vodka to be happy. You know, I call that artificial happiness. Person who's in a happy mood, that's good too. True happiness is when you have such clarity that what you're doing is the right thing, that you would never exchange it. Yekarahi mi peninim, as the pasuk says. This is more precious than all the pearls in the world. Constant devotion and willpower to do things for the right reasons eventually lead the individual to do things properly, completely. And what does this do? This produces, on a spiritual level, this tremendous willpower and purity produces eternity. What does that mean? Rabbis tell us that the reason why the Mishkan, the tabernacle, was never destroyed, like the Bet HaMikdash was, right? It was never destroyed. It was interred. HaMishkan nignaz. Why? Ki ba o nivna al yidei nidvot libam shel Yisrael. It was built through the generosity of the Jewish people. They also, what else can I bring? Oh, we have enough. No, I want to get here. Here's the gold, here's the silver, here's the copper. Hashem says, stop. We have enough. We have more than enough. Remember the tabernacle? So the tabernacle, the Mishkan, was built with generosity. And something that is built with the heart, nothing can destroy it. It's eternal. Therefore, it cannot be destroyed. Therefore, they interred it. It's put away somewhere not too far from Yerushalayim. That is something that is done with the heart. Rabbis tell us, similarly, any mitzvah that was once upon a time performed with that kind of joy will always be performed with joy. Brit Milah, even by the most secular Jew, is still being performed till this very day with simcha. Why? Poor little baby, you're cutting him up, and everybody's happy. Huh? What that? What's going on? They're cutting him up. Why are they so happy? Every mitzvah that they once accepted, they once did, they started doing it with simcha, they will always do it with simcha. Eternity. You see? Generosity, joy, real pure desire to do the will of Hashem creates eternity. It will always be there. It will always be performed with that kind of joy. That is why Moshe tells Yitro all the stories that happened in Egypt, all the experiences, because Yitro converted. I want his joy to remain with him, his enthusiasm to stay with him for the rest of his life. He told him therefore all the stories. By telling him the stories, Vayichad Yitro, Yitro became very, very happy. In order for the enthusiasm not to diminish, we have to be careful not to ever give up, not to ever lose hope, and to be prepared to self-sacrifice. In this way, we have the ingredients that it takes to always continue forever with the same joy that our forefathers had. Just want to finish that this holiday opened up, according to our tradition, the gates of salvation. That is why the Chachamim established this holiday for future generations, because only a holiday that they saw, that they detected that miracles opened up on that time and repeat themselves at the same time of the year, the following year, should be continuously celebrated. So this holiday apparently opened up the gates of salvation forever as well. So we have to remember that as a result of that, there's a tremendous significance in the light. The light represents hope. Never give up hope. And as well, the miracles that occurred are supposed to remind us that miracles will always occur, B'ezrat Hashem. Miracles that occurred in the past will repeat themselves. But more than anything else, let's not forget, the bottom line of Chanukah is, especially this year, that it comes out with Thanksgiving. Is that a Jew has Thanksgiving every single day. We have to thank Hashem for everything from the moment we wake up, that Hashem is giving us an extra day of life to do the will of Hashem. If every human being would thank Hashem for just a little bit, this world will be a different place. But that is one of the lessons that Chanukah brings us and supposed to remind us. Be thankful of who you are, you will be proud of who you are, and you will be able to continuously devote yourself with all your strength as well. Amen.
Amen.